thanks for watching again and coming back for another video. In the last video I made, I talked about our licensing process and what it took for us to become licensed foster parents. In this video, I am going to talk about ways you can help the foster care community. So basically the number one way that you can help is yourself becoming a licensed foster parent. Now, that's not for everyone, and I know that that's not everyone's cup of tea, or people are scared or afraid or of getting hurt, and all of those types of things, which are very real feelings, and there are things that we have dealt with as foster parents. But another way that you could help if you don't want to go through the process of becoming a fully licensed foster parent is to consider becoming a respite foster family. So basically, respite foster families do not take placements. They just provide respite for foster parents. They provide respites for bio parents. They provide respite for family members who are doing kinship care and looking after their other family members who couldn't be with their bio parents. And basically the way that works, it's kind of like short-term babysitting. We have done respite for a weekend. We've done respite for a week at a time. Foster families use respite a lot if they can't take kiddos on vacation with them for whatever reason, or if they just need a break. And so that's where a respite worker or a respite family comes in, and taking the kiddos just for a short period of time. We have used respite for vacations. We have used respite when needed to attend a funeral and it wouldn't be appropriate to bring kiddos to that. So we've used respite for those things. We have used respite just to get a break for a weekend. We have done respite for foster parents who, under the same circumstances, we have done respite for bio families who don't have the total support system that they need, or their support system is unable to care for their children. So we've done respite when bios have been job hunting, moving, taking courses or classes, or have appointments. We did respite for a bio mom who was pregnant and did not have anyone to care for her other young child when she went into labor. So when she went into labor, she called us and we went and picked up her other kiddo, and then we kept that child while mom was at the hospital having another baby. We have done respite for grandparents who just need a break, or physically it's hard for them to care for their grandchildren when they're really young, day in and day out. It takes a toll on them. So we've done respite for all of those types of situations. There are not a lot. Actually, I only know of maybe a handful of respite-only families in this county. There aren't a ton of them. There's always a need for respite care families to provide that respite. There are times when respite is difficult to find. And so that's one way you could help kind of getting your feet wet in the foster care community, but not totally becoming a licensed foster parent. I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, it may have changed, but at one point, in order to become a respite worker, it wasn't as intense of a process to do respite only. So that's definitely another way that you can help out the foster care community. Another way that you can help out is if you know foster families or have friends who are foster parents. A really great way to help out is to just reach out to them and ask if they have a need. I know for me personally, I don't like to ask for help. I don't like to ask for other people to do things for me, bring me things, or those types of things. It's one thing for me to ask my mom for help, But outside of that, I don't really rely on other people or ask other people or reach out when there is a need or anything going on. So if you know foster families in your community, reach out to them and find out if they have a need. Maybe they would like for you to help out with their bio kids so that they can take their foster kiddos to appointments, or so that they could have some one-on-one time with their foster kiddos to help develop that bond and that relationship with them. It would have been really great this last time we got a new placement. We went from a family of 4 to a family of 6, literally overnight. And things were really chaotic when our new kiddos came. And I had been preparing all day for them to come, yet I didn't have a lot of things done and ready because there was just so much to do. And so it would have been awesome for someone to reach out to me and say, like, hey, we know that this is going on, and how would you feel about if we brought you a meal tonight for dinner? Or what can I do to help you? I mean, can I help you put things away? Can I help you just watch over the kiddos while you're getting your house organized and settled and chaotic in the chaotic times of getting a new placement? I don't care how organized of a person you are. I like to think that I'm somewhat organized. Not as organized as I could be, but I am somewhat organized. And even when we've had kiddos come and I've had everything set, the crib's ready, the clothes are ready, everything is ready, getting that new kiddo is still chaotic, no matter how much I have prepared. And it's chaos for well into 1 to 2 weeks after they come, because there's appointments they need to go to and visits are starting and you're developing a new routine and you're falling into those things. And so for me personally, it would have been great to have people in my community reach out, or in my realm of friends or whatever, reach out and just say, like, hey, what can we do to help you or to make things better? Or, hey, I'm running some errands. Can I bring you some things from the grocery store? Or can I, like I said, make you that dinner? Or can I come over and help you clean? Because for whatever reason, cleaning always goes to the wayside. And I know a lot of people probably would turn down that kind of help. I, at one point in my life, probably would have turned down that kind of help. But ever since we've had our babysitter in this summer, I've kind of started letting go of some things, because she has been doing a lot of things that I never even asked her to do. And I just sit down at the end of the day and I think it is so blessing to me, and I'm so touched that she did those things for me today, and that it was one less thing I needed to worry about or I needed to tackle off of a checklist. So even little things like that can be very helpful to foster families, especially when they're getting new placements or just at any time in the journey. We've had a family of 6 now we're going into our 4th month of being a family of 6, and there are still times when things are absolutely chaotic. In fact, I happen to have a coupon for a meal subscription service that was a pretty good savings that I'm using this week, just because I haven't had time to get to the grocery store. So anything like that is a help and a blessing to foster families. Sometimes when you get kiddos, especially older kiddos, toddlers, for me personally, sometimes I feel like it's isolating. We have kiddos coming in with a lot going on, some really big emotions, which cause some really big behaviors. And I know at times I would rather just stay home and deal with my feelings of isolation and kind of the feeling like I'm being trapped in my home, just so that I don't have to deal with my children's behaviors when we go out. because you never know what's going to happen when you leave when you leave your front doors. So I feel like a lot of times foster families can feel like they're isolated. Even those foster families, or even at times when we've had infants, and so, we're not really worrying about behaviors and whatever, but we go out and we do things with friends and all of that kind of stuff. And, we can't really talk about the new kiddos in our care. We can't really give out a lot of information. And we're just going through so many different emotions around that, and things are happening. And I know that I've mentioned things in conversations with others, and they're like, well, why would that even be okay? Like, why is that even okay? And you just think like, instead of going on and defending or whatever, you're really just not talking to someone who understands, because they're not in your situation. And unfortunately, in our area, we at one time had a system for support with other foster families, and it kind of has just gone to the wayside. And I haven't really heard a lot about it recently. And if we don't have those connections with other foster parents, it can feel lonely, because you're going through things that are very different than a typical family. So just having someone reach out and being a friend that isn't prying for information, that's very helpful as well. At the same time, this personally hasn't happened for me, but I have read in some online support groups about people who are foster parents, and they slowly are losing their friends because their friends don't want to deal with kiddos' behaviors. They don't understand what we're going through. And so I think it is very helpful, even if this isn't the world you want to be in, to be very supportive of people who are in this world, to have some compassion for the kiddos. Sure, maybe they have behaviors that are scary, and maybe they have a toddler who is very prone to aggression because that's the life that they lived prior to becoming in foster care, or there's so much going on emotionally that they don't understand, or they can't deal with it. And instead of being the people who say, I don't want that around my child and I don't want to deal with that, instead of isolating those children and those families, come alongside them and be positive role models for their kids. Be a good example of the way we should behave and the way we should do things, and come alongside those foster parents. And, when you can tell they're completely overwhelmed by their kiddos' behaviors, be the person who says, you're doing a great job and all things will get better in time. And for me, that's really encouraging to hear things like that. We have right now 4 kiddos. We have a 9-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 7-month-old. And we have some typical behavior issues with our 3-year-old. We have some typical behaviors of a 2.5-year-old that are magnified by confusion, and not understanding the situation they're in. And we have a very boisterous 7-month-old. And our biggest thing is we struggle taking them all out in public at the same time. I never know what's going to come from either one of my toddlers, and whether or not it's going to all of a sudden be okay, or if they're just going to fly off the handle for no reason, or no apparent reason to myself. And so we recently, twice now, have taken them all out for a meal. And the first meal we all went out to together was a complete and total disaster. I ended up leaving with 2 of the kiddos in the middle of the meal because we just couldn't contain ourselves at the table. It was not a positive experience, and I was convinced leaving that that was never going to happen again. We were never going to all be able to go out together as a family and have a meal. And so I was really discouraged. Then, for whatever reason, we decided to try it again, and that meal went wonderful. And I had people coming up to me and saying how well behaved our children were, how we are doing a really great job, and that's coming from complete strangers. And so for me personally, to hear that from someone who I trust and I have a friendship with and a bond with means so much more, even when times are hard and there's people staring. I know it's uncomfortable to be the other person in the group when kiddos are misbehaving and screaming and you're being stared at. And I think it's really great for people who can be that support system. Another way that's really helpful is if you are that support system for foster parents, and you have those friendships with foster parents, it's really important not to ask questions. Just be there for the kids with open arms. Like I said, don't ask questions. A lot of times we can't share much of things that are going on. We're not supposed to share what's going on. Information is confidential. Now, if you have older kiddos and they share information with you, obviously just keep that information to yourself, but don't pry. It gets really frustrating after a while when people ask over and over, like, what's their story? What's going on? What's this? What's that? And you're just like, oh, well, I can't really tell you. Or, I don't want to share that information with you, or however it's worded. We get those questions all the time, and all the time we have to say, like, I can't really share that information with you. Or, I kind of just vaguely answer questions. It's a lot, and we get those questions a lot. Right now, we are a Caucasian family with biracial children, and I get a lot of questions when I take them out in public by myself about them. Like, oh, whose kids are these? Well, they're our kids. People are just, I think, genuinely curious, but we answer questions or beat around the bush to strangers all the time. And the last thing that we want to do is to do that with our friends as well. So it's very helpful to us when our friends just understand, can't talk about it. It's not something we're going to talk about. So those are the biggest ways that you can help the community. I know another way that our church family has helped is by doing donation drives and having people donate basic necessities, notebooks, journals, pencils, pens, backpacks, all of those kinds of things. And then they've donated them to the foster care organization in our area. That's another way you can help. Basically, we've never had any child who's come here with much of anything. We've had children who have come with duffel bags that they've gotten from the department, but no one that has come here with their own luggage. Most of the kids come with the clothes on their back. We've never had kiddos come with more than one or two outfits. We've never had kiddos come with toiletries. We've never had kiddos come with toothbrushes, toothpaste, any of those kinds of things. And it's very rare that kiddos come with any of those anything at all. So if you have an organization and you want to have a fundraiser or a drive, those are great things to have donated. So basic things like toothbrushes, toothpaste, journals, pens, pencils, crayons, coloring books, all of those types of things are great. Combs, brushes, all great things to include. Our county likes to use the duffel bags that they can fold up small because it's easier for them to store things. It's easier for them to store for when their team has to go out and remove a kiddo. But again, a lot of the times when kiddos leave their home, they come with nothing. So it is helpful for us to get those things. They generally just throw a bunch of stuff in a bag and then they bring it for us. So that's another way you could help if you don't really know any foster families in your area. That's another way. Other than that, that's all I can think of right now. In ways to help, if I think of other things, I will comment them below this video. If you have any questions about foster care, feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer them. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss, let me know. I will see you guys all next time. Bye.